welcome you into another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead Show. The dear Goon joining us and battling through some illness, showing his toughness today. Dear Goon, not easy being you today, my man.
I don't know if it's sickness or allergies. I usually get them once a year. So the good news is winter's breaking, spring is coming. If I already got the allergies.
Yep. Good news indeed. I want to start. We'll get into a lot of different things today, and we'll keep it fairly short as well to give the dear Goon a chance to rest up. But I just wanted to touch on the hockey team and just a couple of thoughts on the athletic department as a whole coming off of that. But I thought it's always tough when you lose and you're that close to kind of achieving the dream. But I think, again, you step back and you look at this thing big picture wise, Goon. Again, this program has been in existence for 11 years. Okay, it's a Division I program for 11 years, and they were that close to being in the Frozen Four. At the end of the day, truthfully, I thought Michigan outplayed them for the better part of the game. And Michigan, by the way, I think has an excellent chance to win the national title. I'm still picking with my pre-tournament choice of Minnesota to win it all, but I don't think it's going to be shocking if any of the four teams remaining get in, but certainly not if either of the two Big Ten teams remaining get in. And I thought Penn State did a really good job, Goon, of rebounding from some late season. I think struggles is too strong of a term because they were in. It was a very tough schedule. They were playing really good teams, and they were consistently competitive. Just couldn't get those, weekend sweeps that you're looking for, and occasionally had the rough weekend where you weren't getting a W out of either game. But I don't think it was quite the late season swoon that some of the national announcers were making it out to be. And regardless, I did think they did a great job of regrouping. Obviously came out, took care of business in the opening game. And then again, we're right there. It took a great rally by Michigan and a fantastic shot very quickly in overtime. The suspense ended quickly, I will say that. But I just think overall a lot more positive to take away from the Penn State hockey perspective than negative, despite, again, when you're that close, you want to be able to finish that off.
Well, after the game, it dawned on me that was Michigan's 27th Frozen Four that they've gone to. That's a lot of Frozen Fours, my man. So the way that Michigan was playing and the way they had upset, or did they really upset Minnesota the week before? I don't think. I think Michigan's the top-tier team in the league, and hanging in there that long just goes to show, what Guy could do. And like we talked about in the past a lot is that he gets his guys a lot like Kale, really yoked up at the right time of the year, and that's by the end of the season. So I know they weren't happy losing in the first round to Ohio State in the 3-game series. So, having 3 weeks off or 2 weeks off of what they had, and then I'm pretty sure that Guy worked them pretty good because they came out all guns blazing on Friday night. They played great. And then they hung in there and played great on Sunday against a superior team. I mean, let's just say it, a better team, but they hung in there and they had shots to win it. I mean, my God, what a game! I don't think I've seen that good a college hockey game in years.
It really was a great game. I mean, it was a fun game to watch, and it kind of put me in mind of the Michigan State Kansas State basketball game where. You just had two teams that laid it all on the line. Yep. And actually, I think similarly, I thought Kansas State was the better team than Michigan State throughout that game, but Michigan State just kept battling and gave itself a chance. I think represented itself very, very well. But obviously Solier played terrific in goal, and that's where it has to start when you're talking about playoff hockey. But I am really interested to see now what happens if we do get an all Big Ten final and a rematch of the Big Ten championship, which I think is certainly a good possibility here. And then, if that happens, what happens this time around? Because I still like, and listen, I mean, Michigan obviously could very well win the title as well. I just like the makeup of that Minnesota team, and I just like the overall skill set a little bit better than I like Michigan, and I think that the goal play has been a little more consistent with Minnesota than Michigan throughout the season. But it'll be fun to see the Frozen Four. And again, I think from Penn State's perspective, just to be able to hang your hat on and build on, looking toward the future and the possibilities for this program. And, I've got to think that the 2 postseason games did nothing but help recruiting for Penn State. I mean, there was nothing negative to take away from the performance there by the Nittany Lions. And I think, again, it was good exposure. I don't know that Penn State necessarily needs a lot more exposure. It's pretty well known. I think in the hockey community is, a program to watch here. But certainly it did nothing but reinforce that notion with the performance here in this tournament.
And it proved our fans will travel. I mean, that was great. I mean, I had people from Philadelphia up there, people from Harrisburg at that game, and I had a bunch of people from State College who drove down. So, I'm sure we're going to get into the basketball thing, and that seems to be a big issue. Is if they win, will they come? And I think that they will. But it's a lot easier to get to Allentown from Philadelphia, Jersey, Harrisburg, and than it is from getting from those places to State College, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, it's a turn to basketball here because I do think, I always like watching the so-called experts fill out their brackets, and you always get these ones that provide advice. And it's funny because I was reading through one of those, and I'm like, generally speaking, I get it. It's good advice. It's like, you definitely want to, if you're going underdogs, you don't want to just, eliminate all the number ones because there's always a 1 seed in the Final Four. And you don't want to take 16s. I mean, it could happen, but it never really happens. And all of these things. And again, I get it. Generally speaking, it's solid advice. But all of it, I mean, every bit of it, if you followed it from the so-called experts, and the one piece in particular was put up by ESPN and one of their bracketologists, it's like, you would have completely screwed yourself up because this year, everything went out the window, except the one thing I will say, Goon, is I did think there were a lot of people before that tournament started, experts I'm talking about, saying that Connecticut was a team that you had to watch because they were back to healthy and playing the way they were early in the season. I mean, that was a team that a lot of people had circled as a team to watch and really dangerous. And Miami, the same thing. Miami was a team that because of the tournament they had last year and the experience they had coming back, like those were the 2 teams that a lot of people were jumping in on. I don't know necessarily about the Final Four. I think some did, but certainly as teams that could make a deep run. I don't remember seeing so many people talking up Florida Atlantic, their chances of making a deep run. But, you have 3 schools making their first ever Final Four appearance. That's pretty cool stuff and fun. If you don't have a rooting interest, it's fun to just watch and see how this thing plays out now.
Funniest thing I saw was somebody said, if you were ever wanted to go to a Final Four, this is the one. Because there's 3 schools there who have very, 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 very small universities and fan bases, and Houston is huge.
Yeah.
So if you ever wanted to go and get a ticket to a game, this is the time to go.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And again, it's
they've been fun. All of the games have been fun to watch.
They have been. I don't get to watch that first weekend much at all. I mean, I'll get back after the the broadcast on Friday and Saturday, but I'm working on, so I'll have the games on, the late night games on, and I obviously paid a little more attention to the Thursday night game this year with Penn State, but it's hard for me that first weekend to really get into it, but got a chance to watch a good bit of it this last weekend, and there were a lot of very compelling storylines and a lot of really interesting games, and obviously just amazing results, and it's it is going to be wild to see how this thing finishes up when you have again a bunch of teams that three that have never been there. In Connecticut, it's been a long time. I mean, you basically have four fresh faces here in terms of programs and fan bases heading to the Final Four.
Yeah, and then there's people out there complaining that this is what we're going to have with the transfer portal, and that's Miami have a brand new team. All these guys, they're pretty much just signing up. And somebody said that this tournament will be the norm more than than anything else in the next from now on, because of the transfer portal and how teams can change and how teams can come out of nowhere, almost like an AAU team type of thing. And that's where people are complaining right now about that. But I love the fact that there's three teams that have been in there before. It's great,
I do too, and I'll tell you, Goon, I know there's a lot of people that are almost in desperation mode right now on the Penn State basketball front. But I'm looking at this, Goon, and I think, again, it's about making the right hire, and I get it. That's a big question mark right now. But, I'm reading all these stories about the NIL stuff, and listen, I still don't know. Even some of these stories that purport to have the inside scoop on all of the things that transpired. I don't know that that's a complete picture, and that everything that's being said necessarily played in as greatly. And I don't know that it didn't, but I at the end of the day, do you think Florida Atlantic's NIL opportunities are through the roof? The facilities, and I haven't been down there. Maybe, I'm talking out of, I don't know what I'm talking about, I'll admit, but I can't imagine Florida Atlantic is matching up with Duke and North Carolina and Kansas in terms of facilities and in terms of NIL opportunities. Same thing with San Diego State and even Connecticut. I mean, Connecticut obviously has a stronger tradition, and I think has some, wealthy alumni, and probably Miami the same thing. But I don't think I think it's more about getting the right coach and getting the right players that fit your system, whatever that system may be. And I don't think it has to be, a particular system, but you just got to get the guys that fit in right. And I think, that's what Penn State did this year. And I know, they lost to Texas, and obviously Texas fell a step short of the Final Four too. But I mean, Penn State was legitimately being talked about as a potential Elite Eight, Final Four type team.
Absolutely, they were.
And again, I get that there's going to have to be rebuilding some trust and the whole bit, but you get the right coach in here, Goon. It doesn't have to be this 5-year process that we've talked about for years because of what you just talked about. There is the transfer portal.
Yep.
There are opportunities here. Does Penn State need to do a better job on the basketball front of getting the NIL stuff out there? Yeah, that's probably part of it. But again, I'm looking around, and I find it hard to believe that San Diego State and Florida Atlantic are just running rings around anybody else when it comes to the facilities and the NIL stuff, and they're there. So that, again, to me, that should give hope for a program like Penn State that, hey, you get the right coach. Yep. That you just go out and get the right players, and you get a big star or two, and then you get just the good and the right complementary pieces around them. Again, you can turn it around in 2 years in today's world of college basketball. Now, different sports are different.
Yes.
Football, I think, is while some of the same things apply there, because it's such a numbers game, and because programs like Alabama, once you have it rolling, it's easier to keep it rolling. I think basketball, and we're seeing it even with the the Kentuckys and the Dukes and the Kansases. I don't think any of those programs are going anywhere. I think they're going to be competitive, and I think more often than not will be in the tournament. But again, I think, and I think it's good for basketball that you're going to see more seasons like this, where you have a bunch of teams that haven't been to the big dance before, or the Final Four before, make these types of runs. And I think it's, for the casual sports fan, I think it's going to be very welcomed.
Yeah, I mean, Micah turned this place around pretty quick. I mean, Pat was pretty damn good, right, with what he had going on at the time when he was resigned or fired. But Micah stepped in, and he's within 2 years now. He's a top tier coach. It wasn't with the huge NIL deals and this and that. It was a transfer portal. You get a guy like Jalen Pickett out there who was an All-American player, and you build your team around him. You get a couple shooters, and which they had, and they went out and got in the transfer portal. Get hot at the right time, they're good to go. We're ready to rock and roll. There's nothing to say that whoever comes in and coaches next, I'm sure we'll get to that soon, but they're going to have their guys. I know that our guys are, what is there, 3-4 guys left on scholarship on the basketball program right now that are in the basketball program right now. So, how many guys still want to know who the coach is, want to meet the coach? They want to explore their options. I don't blame these basketball players one bit. Right. If they don't know who their head coach is, get your ass in the transfer portal, go out and see what's out there, and then come back and talk to whoever the next coach is, whoever it is, and then if you have a good feeling about it, you stay here. I'm okay with that. They're just testing their options and testing to see what they can do and where they can go. And the people who are, I don't know. Have you ever seen so many basketball fans at Penn State? That sounds freaking believable. Everybody is Al McGuire now at Penn State football because they watch Penn State hoop 6 games this year. It drives me freaking crazy, man. All people have their little two cents to add in and all that, and the social media world is going crazy with people who know this and know that. And I have an honest question for you, Jeff.
Yeah,
I saw online that people were complaining that Pat Kraft did not go to the NCAA Sweet 16 game.
Yep.
That he was at the NCAA wrestling tournament, and I was like, dude, it's his first national title for Penn State.
Yep.
And then people were like, oh, he'd already won it in the morning, but that doesn't do it. No. His plan was all along to be there for the first game, and he went because I was with him. He did the wrestling, then he went to Des Moines, and then came back from Des Moines and was at wrestling the next day.
Yes.
God bless him. But people giving him crap for not being at the basketball. Do you think Micah was like, oh, that's it? Oh, I can't believe it. I'm out of here. No way. If people even remotely consider or think about Micah was going to go no matter. He was going home. I just don't get why people have an argument and they're like, well, we could have kept him and this and that. The man wanted to go back home. For as crazy football wrestling as Pennsylvania is, that's Indiana. We talk about it all the time. The man was going home. There was nothing. I know I've heard there was a big number thrown at him, so it wasn't about the money. He just wanted to go home. I get it. I understand it. He's coaching Notre Dame. He's an Indiana kid. He's an Indiana guy. He's from South Bend. I don't fault the man one bit, but for people who are crapping on the program and crapping on the athletic department, they need to chill out, man.
Yeah, I think it's a couple of things about it. You and I are of the same mindset, and I can't prove it, and I don't have inside information, and so I'm not refuting the reports that are out there with that other things factored in, but I really do think at the end of the day, this had a lot more to do with Micah having a chance to return home and be closer to friends and family than it had to do with anything else. Now, again, I can't prove that, and I don't have the inside information. But that's just, I firmly believe that, and the conversations I've had with a couple of people that are higher up in the athletic department, at least the indications that they were given by Micah was that it was not a facilities issue. It was not NIL stuff. So, I mean, if it was, I think the conversations were not clear, but put it that way.
Sure.
And so here's the other part of it, and this is always the case, right? When you move on from a coach, because I still don't think it was the right thing to get rid of Pat Chambers, but do I think they hit it out of the ballpark with Micah Shrewsbury? Obviously. I mean, I don't think you could have made a better hire. But, and regardless of what led to it now, at some point you got to get over it. Micah left, and if it was for a bunch of other reasons, then so be it. But at this point, right, I mean, you can talk about would have, could have, should have, but at some point then you got to talk about what is. And what is you got to go find a good coach, a guy that you think can get this program to the next level. And, it's kind of like football. When Bill O'Brien left, I thought it was going to be devastating for this program. But it opened up an opportunity. And I think, again, they hit a home run, and you can argue, I'm not going to debate here where Penn State football is right now, right? Nobody could have envisioned when Bill O'Brien left that this program would have had the success that it has under James Franklin. Whether or not you think it should have more success or not, that's fine, debatable. We can talk about that. But it is remarkable, and I think it's indisputable that Penn State got one of the better coaches in the country, and to me, that's not really that debatable when you look at the overall record and the accomplishments, and where I think this program is positioned here for the next few seasons. On top of that, so
hold on. I mean, what about Bill? He realized that 12 and 13. They were going to be the easier of the sanction years. 14 and 15 were going to be the hard ones.
Yeah.
And Bill had to look in the mirror and say, okay, if I have a shot to get out, I got to go. Right?
Yeah. And I don't even think, I mean, he was up front from day one.
Day one, and so was Micah. Micah always.
He wanted to be an NFL head coach. And, and the situation with Houston, with his son and everything, I mean, there was, I don't think it was just that, hey, I got to get out of here before things get really bad. I mean, I really don't. And again, same thing. I can't get inside his head, and I can't tell you that with certainty. But I really think it had a lot more to do with, hey, the NFL is calling. I want to be in the NFL. I can't turn down that opportunity and figure that it'll be there in a couple of years, because you don't know if it will. And if that's your dream, I mean, you got to go follow that. But, again, but the point there is then Penn State didn't sit around and mope and, cry. And it seems like there's a lot of people just wanting to do that, point fingers. Listen, whatever led to it, all you can do at this point, it's happened. Okay. And if there were mistakes made and the administration should have done more, okay, apply those lessons to the future. But you got to start focusing on the future. And listen, this is a critical hire. There is no two ways about that. Like this has to be a really good hire, or it is going to set Penn State basketball back substantially. Because if it is the wrong guy that comes in here and takes over this program, right, the reputation, like there's still momentum around the name Penn State basketball right now. You get the wrong guy in here and the recruiting doesn't go well the next couple of years, and this team is, in the basement of the Big Ten for the next couple of years. I don't care who you get then as the successor to the successor. It is going to be a really difficult climb to get back to relevance. So it is an absolutely crucial hire. There's no question about that. But again, I think if you make the right hire, and I don't really know exactly what that is. I've been talking about it with a couple of people, and it's kind of like the people are checking off, hey, he needs to be this, he needs to be that. We need to have, some people, he has to have head coaching experience. Hey, he has to be a great recruiter. I think, I don't know that he needs, you got to be a great recruiter. I'll grant you that, but I don't know that you have to already have an established track record as a great recruiter, but obviously you have to get the job done there. But to me, Goon, it's people are kind of looking at this the way I think some teams and coaches do the NFL Combine, where it's like, all right, we got to focus on getting the guy that's 6'6" and 305 and jumps this high, and can he play football? And to me, I'm not saying all of these things. I get why all of these things matter, and I suspect Penn State is going to go the route, and I'm okay with it, of having somebody that's a previous head coach. But just like I think the NFL too often just forgets about, hey, can the guy play football? Maybe he doesn't run, 0.2 of a second faster without pads. Maybe he doesn't jump that extra inch. Maybe he doesn't have that, but he knows how to play football. And there's guys every year, right, that don't meet the metrics that they look for, but they just go out there and they play football because they know what they're doing. I just want a basketball coach. I don't, for me, I don't necessarily care whether it's somebody that has head coaching experience, whether it's somebody that's been around big programs, whether it's somebody that has, a tremendous recruiting track record. You just got to get somebody that knows how to bring good players in, top talent into a school like Penn State, and then coach them up. And at the end of the day, again, I think that could be a wide variety of people. I think it's got to be somebody, as I keep saying, Goon, to me, it's more about, can somebody come in and sell the administration on, this is the plan, right? This is my plan to get our program to be consistently contending, at least for NCAA tournament berths. Can we move together and execute this? And, whatever and whoever that is, I think there's some urgency here. I think this does need to happen quickly because of the transfer portal. But I think if you get the right coach, he comes in and meets with these guys, Mahaffey and Booth and all of these guys, as you said, I think are still, I think they're more waiting to see, hey, is this still somewhere I want to be? And again, it's got to be the right coach, whatever that is. And I don't know what the right coach is. Some of the names being floated out there do sound intriguing. And I thought James Franklin was intriguing when he was being floated out from Vanderbilt. And I think, VCU's coach. And I think there's a lot of possibilities there that would get people excited. But again, to me, it's more about the long-term sustainability than the immediate impact of the excitement. And if you can get both, obviously, all the more power to you.
I mean, the two names you're hearing right now are Rhodes and Fisher.
Yeah.
Obviously, Rhodes out of VCU. He's a coal region guy, goes back a long time. He's my age. He's a Division III Player of the Year. So the man has a pedigree right there. There's an example right there. The guy can play basketball. The guy can hoop, man. Division III, All-American, Division III, all this. And he goes and coaches and doing very well at VCU, maintained what VCU had going on from Shaka Smart, maintained that. And, does he come home? And did you hear that they're having the emergency meeting tomorrow with BOT? Yeah, that's at 4 to 5 o'clock. So we'll see. Now, my thing is Pat going to try and wait to see what happens at Florida Atlantic to make a run at that guy? Which
I don't think would be
a bad idea.
Right.
But people are like, oh, we got to make this deal now. And it's like, why is everybody so insistent on having to make this decision right now?
Yeah, I think there's urgency. But yes, do I think waiting between, tomorrow and Monday is going to be earth-shattering difference? No, in the overall scheme of things, I don't. So yeah, I'm with you. I think that's if you're reaching out and his agent is at least saying, yeah, we're willing to listen, then I think to me you've got to at least hold off and have the conversation. Unless, again, the exception of that is if you've met with Rhodes and listen, you're like, hey, listen, no matter what this guy says at Florida Atlantic, that we are in. Like, we know this is our guy. We're in alignment with our vision for the program, how we can get things done. Then I think, you don't just wait around just to talk to somebody to talk to them.
Yes.
So, again, if you are, if you're Pat Kraft and whoever's on the search committee here and you're, hey, this is absolutely our guy, this is our home run, then I don't think you need to sit around and wait to make the announcement.
I think any of the three would be an absolute home run. I really, truly, truly do. I think that they all fit the program very, very well. How about two of the guys being managers?
Yeah.
May and Fish being they were basketball managers.
Yeah.
Just loved the game and they just stayed in the game. I love that. You've got to love that.
No question. And I think that's that goes back to what I was saying earlier about you. I don't think there's and especially in a sport like basketball, different sports, I guess, are different. And to some degree in any sport, I guess. I mean, the great coaches can come from anywhere, right? Like it's not that, and it can be wildly different personalities. Like I'm watching Kansas State's coach, and I like the guy, but he's certainly a much different personality than like a Dean Smith. So that I don't think it has to be a particular personality. I don't think it has to be a particular this or that in terms of background, playing background, anything like that. It's just got to be somebody that knows how to put together a plan that can be successful and then implement it to see it through. And listen, again, I think Micah Shrewsbury, the one thing he showed, well, one of many things, but the big takeaway for me with Shrewsbury is if you get the right coach, right? And it's not that Mike is the only one out there. I mean, I was a great fit, and I do wish Penn State could have kept him. I think it, would have led to long-term success. But it's just like any coach that's out there, you are replaceable. Now, whether or not it's going to be somebody that's going to have the success that you had, you have to wait and see how that plays out. But especially in a sport like basketball, there are a lot of different coaches that can have success at a lot of different places.
Yeah.
And, at a place like Penn State, Goon, let's also be honest here that, success here is not the equivalent of success at, Duke or Kansas. You get Penn State to the NCAA tournament. I keep talking about trying to get there 6 or 7 times over 10 years. Let's be honest. If they get there 3 or 4 times in a 10-year period and make a run a couple of those years, nobody here is complaining, man. Like, that is unprecedented stuff.
And then, we talk about the coaches and then how it has to be an important guy to be a coach here. The players have to feel that too. They have to be the right player for this place. I mean, Jeff, you know as well as I do, the best basketball player might not be as well known as the nickel cornerback from the football program. And that's just the God's honest truth. So that takes a special kid that's going to want to come here, change that atmosphere, change that, but it's not going to change, but at least parallel, get equal with them in the way that Shep Garner and that crew, they were a couple of years ago. Jared Stevens and all those guys, Mike Watkins, all that whole crew of guys, because they were just as well known as the football team. So that's where we need to get right there, and that comes up in bringing the right guy in, but he needs to bring the right players in. So it'll be very, very. It's going to be a great couple days here to see what's going to go on. And again, I go right back to what I mean. 25 years ago, Joe Paterno would tell our fans to shut up. Let them make a decision. There's no reason for you to be chiming in your 2 cents everywhere. But everybody can put their 2 cents in right now, and it just drives me absolutely crazy. These people are bashing Pat Kraft. They're bashing Micah Shrewsbury. They're bashing Penn State. It's like, what? This is how it normally is at most universities. So we're just dealing with the new, with what all other universities have dealt with for a long time. Not a bad thing going out and getting a top 20 basketball coach. That's what we're going to go do. I mean, that's a good damn thing. Bring the right guys in, sell the stadium out. Hey, all these fans that are all the internet bandwagon right now. Go to the games. Quit talking like a big. Go to every basketball game up here. I know it's tough. We talk about it all the time how hard it is for people from outside of the area to get here. So, but support the team. Do this and do that. I mean, if you want to add in your 2 cents, you better support this program no matter what.
Well, and it is going to take the right person who doesn't. I do think you have to be a guy that's able to kind of check the ego at the door here at Penn State, because the fact is, and I think Micah was showing that, listen, if you put out a great product, right, people are going to come out and support it. But as you said, for basketball to be able to get sellout crowds or 10,000 plus at the Jordan Center, right, you have to draw from well beyond our immediate community. Like, you've got to get that Harrisburg and certainly at least Altoona coming in the other direction. And the other part of it, though, is so that's tough to do for weeknight games. And the other part of it is, Goon and I was just talking with somebody about this, that we are in some difficult economic times, right? And all of these games are on TV. And if you are just a general sports fan or a Penn State sports fan, right? You right now have for your winter viewing options for going out and attending. You have a wrestling program that has won 10 of the last 12 national championships, and is sells out at Rec Hall and now a couple of times a year, it looks like, at the Jordan Center. You have a hockey team that sells out or comes darn close to it if it's not selling out at every game, and is knocking on the door of being an elite program, and is certainly a really good program as it is. And obviously, I mean, football is king here, and you can bemoan that if you're a basketball fan and you're a basketball diehard, and that's fine. But listen, Miami football is king at Miami.
Absolutely.
Miami from going to the Final Four, right? Football. I have news for you. Football is king at Michigan. Like, they like their basketball. Ohio State, same thing. They're going to come out and support their basketball, but where the ultimate allegiance lies with those programs is with football. Doesn't mean you can't be really successful on the basketball court, but so again, yeah, Penn State is going to be a football school, and you're going to be competing against some other really good programs that have really strong followings, and you do have some things working against you in terms of regular season attendance. But I think you have to have somebody that's willing to push through that. And I think to a large degree, Micah Shrewsbury did do that. He's like, hey, we're just going to work with what we have, put out as good a product as we can, get guys that hustle and try to make things happen and roll with it. And again, I think other coaches can look at that and see that, hey, yeah, you know what? If we do that, we can be successful at a school like Penn State. And I don't think you need. They may need to do better and more to restructure some stuff with the NIL to get in with some of the top recruits on the basketball front. I'm not saying that can't or shouldn't be part of the equation, but I also don't think that needs to be the sole focus. If everything is, if we just get an NIL deal together that's going to wow everybody, then we're going to be all right. I think you're ignoring what you're seeing happening again with San Diego State and with Miami and with Connecticut. Those aren't the places that are where all of the top NIL deals are being done right now, right? Like, I mean, that clearly is not the case. Again, I'm not saying it's not important, and I'm not saying it shouldn't be addressed. But I don't think it is the end-all, be-all that some are making it out to be. And I don't think you need to be necessarily right at the barrel in terms of the NIL deals that you're putting together in order to have a competitive basketball program. Now, I don't think you can afford to be at the bottom or in the bottom third and expect that to happen on a consistent basis. But again, I think you can win big without having the best facilities and the top NIL deals and the most money out there. There's a lot of different things that go into the equation, and again, I'm not saying those two things don't play a factor. And I'd love to see. I don't know what they could do with the Jordan Center, Goon. That is not a great sports venue, not a great basketball venue. You're too far away. I'm not sure. I had a buddy of mine saying that they just need to reconfigure it. I'm not sber how you reconfigure it. I mean, it's built the way it's built. Yeah. Like, you can't just go in and make the seats higher up like they are at a lot of the better basketball facilities, or move the seats closer to the floor. I'm not sure. Maybe there is something they can do, and I'm not saying don't look at it. I'm just not sure. I mean, it's kind of structurally what it is. And it's new enough that I don't. I'm not sure you want to look at building a new facility or something like that right now. I mean, you basically have to raise. Like, I think that's the spot for it, right? Like, you'd have to raise the facility and probably be out of home for a couple of years. I'm not sure what the answer there is. I don't think it's a great facility for basketball or sports in general. But I also think it's kind of what you're stuck with a little bit at the moment, is at least my thinking right now.
I don't know if it was the Daily Collegian or Onward State today who came out today. They had 10 things to make basketball better, and it was like talking about blocking off the one end and making it almost like a U, moving the court back a little bit and then Uing it, and then actually having stuff on the ceiling where the noise would reverberate down onto the players, making it a real home advantage, and having the players on top of you, which is great and all, but I mean, it's a lot of configuration, configure it and all that. And,
yeah.
I mean, it's not a new building. I mean, it was 1995 it opened.
Yeah.
I mean, my roommates and my little brother worked on it. I mean, they were the ones building it. So it's not a. I mean, it's great for obviously what they're doing now with the concerts that have been going on in the last few weeks, and then the ones coming up. I mean, it's fantastic for all of that.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the deal is, what they could do with that.
Yeah, and again, I'm sure it's among the many things that they're talking about and taking a look at. Real quick, Goon, did you get a chance to? And I meant to ask you off air about this earlier, but did you happen to get a chance to see the podcast that Adam Brenneman did with Christian Hackenberg?
I didn't listen to it. I had seen it up online and all that stuff, and I know people were talking about it.
It is, if you're a Penn State fan, well, really, even if you're not, if you're just a football fan, it is just some really interesting perspective.
I did see the one comment that Joe and his staff didn't even recruit him.
Yeah.
That was crazy to me.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And the two things that just kind of stuck with me from it is, and it kind of goes back just to the basketball discussion, and I'm not sure. There was a feeling with Christian's class, and I think just in general with those players, that Penn State is something special. There's just something here. And again, do I think other schools feel that way? I do, sure. I mean, I think most, hopefully, most kids that go to college and play on teams have good memories and good feelings about the school and the vibe that they get from it. But and again, I'm a Penn State guy, so I guess not surprised. But I do think that there's just something a little extra special about Penn State and the way it's done things over the years. And I wonder if it does translate in basketball to the degree that it does. Like I know in football and wrestling, even before Cal got here. I mean, you talk to the generations of wrestlers here, and it was special. It meant something a little extra to those guys that got to compete at Penn State. And I think that's the case for a lot of sports. I don't know necessarily all sports, but, I think a lot of the sports that there is that feeling. And I don't know if it is there with basketball. And I think, that's – I am going to be curious to see, especially with a guy like Booth. Does that legacy mean as much to him? And we'll at least get some indication once the new coach is announced here as to that. But Christian's perspective and his ability to appreciate the good times and the bad times for him personally is I think really special. And it's just it's neat to hear somebody reflect on themselves. And there's just a maturity with Christian Hackenberg now. And by his own admission, he didn't have that maturity, in college and, certainly in the NFL to kind of see what was happening and some things. But the personal responsibility and the ownership he takes for his career and the pride that he has in his career, which I think is rightfully there, is neat. It was just a fascinating insight into one of the guys that I think is most responsible for this program. He's right up there with the Michael Maddis and the Mike Zordiches of the world.
McGloin, Zordich.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this thing being able to stay on track, and he talked about the the ownership that they felt, his class, and kind of keeping that legacy intact, the legacy of Penn State football I'm talking about, and passing it along to guys like Saquon Barkley and making sure they understood what it is that makes this place so special. It was just it was really interesting, and I think if you're a Penn State fan, I think it'll make you feel proud about the school and that program and the way it came through everything. And I think guys like Christian Hackenberg are a big part of why that was able to happen. And I also I don't know, I worry, Goon, and it's I worry that too many kids, and I'm seeing it again. My son's 7, and we're trying to expose him to as much and get him involved in as many different things as we can. And I'm seeing parents out there that are already, my kid is a swimmer, my kid is playing baseball, my kid is, and listen, in some case, and this is the thing, it's never a. I don't think all kids need to do all sports, right? Like if you have a kid, it's just like, I think, being exposed to different musical instruments is good for kids. But if you have a kid that age 4 loves the piano and has an unbelievable natural gift for it, do I think that kid necessarily needs to go out and do all these other things? I mean, if that is in fact his passion or her passion, and there are kids, right? I mean, that it's rare, but you have kids that are just, yeah, they have a passion and a talent for something, and it meshes very early. But for the overwhelming majority of kids, right, some of us are in our 50s and still trying to figure out what it is we want to be when we grow up. I just worry that we're putting too much emphasis on success at early ages, and we're screwing the chance up for success at later ages. And it was just one of the things I loved listening to Hackenberg talk about, was just the purity, he called it, of why he played and what he played. And he didn't give any thought to enrolling early because he wanted to play baseball and he was good at baseball, and so he wanted to finish up that season. And there's just a lot of little things like that I don't know. For me, it was just nice to hear, and I hope kids and families to heart that you don't have to have everything all figured out before high school, certainly. And I would argue you don't even necessarily need to get it all figured out before you're out of college.
Go out and enjoy it all, man.
Yep, figure it out your own path, and not every path has to be the same. But again, if you're a Penn State fan, I would encourage you, if you get a chance, to check out that podcast with Adam Brenneman. It is and Christian. It just a really fascinating look at Christian's career and Penn State football through what was a very difficult time. That's going to do it today, Goon. Rest up.
Yeah, buddy.
We appreciate it, and we will be back on Thursday. Until then, be good and be safe.